Boy, it's a damn shame what's happening to LeBron these days. Lost one of his best hitters in the media who used to go to bat for him all the time when it comes to the MJ and LeBron debate. We about to dig deep into why that happened. Now, I know LeBron has been in the headlines for the last couple of months based on what's going on with his future with the Lakers, whether he's retiring or not, whether he's about to get traded. There's a lot of different things that's been circulating the news cycle about him. But one thing for sure is the GOAT debate between him and Michael Jordan is never going away. Now, somebody who has participated in the GOAT debate for quite some time, Colin Cowherd, spoke on his true feelings about the MJ versus LeBron debate in this stage of life, and he finally realized, hey, you might need to put this thing to rest. Take a listen to what he had to say on his show to Herd.
Rich Paul told us it was all about winning. It's not anymore. I think Michael Jordan's still in his head. He knows in the basketball community with basketball fans, he's never going to catch MJ. MJ is 6 for 6. MJ is more memorable. MJ's got the logo, the brand, and sells more shoes. He's more romanticized. Michael Jordan, there are a dozen plays to this day that you close your eyes and think about, and you can see Michael Jordan. Do it, unless you're driving. With LeBron, there's one. That chase down block against the Warriors. That's it. And so I think at LeBron at this point, he's never going to catch him. He's never going to catch him in net worth. MJ's net worth is $3.5 billion. LeBron, even with the massive money he's paid, is $1 billion. That's why he wants to own a basketball team. I think he's chasing Michael. And here's the difference. Michael Jordan makes you feel something, and LeBron doesn't. MJ, and high-level salespeople will tell you, you want to trigger emotion in advertisers and consumers. You want to make people feel something about a product. Michael has that. You wear his shoes, you feel cool. You like being on that side of the argument. So Michael's richer, more memorable, bigger brand, and he makes you feel something. And LeBron doesn't.
Now, for those who aren't familiar with Colin Cowherd, he has consistently praised LeBron James over the course of his career for what he has done, from his accomplishments, his longevity, to his versatility, to what he's done off the court with his organizations and his philanthropy. He did the whole nine. And, he pretty much said all of those things pretty much made him better than Michael Jordan. But it's really interesting that he's finally coming to the revelation at the end of LeBron's career that, hey, all the stuff I've been saying doesn't really catapult you over Mike. Now, the timing of it is crazy because, LeBron is at the end. He may have 1 or 2 years left max. So I think a lot of people are about to express their true feelings about how they feel about the king. Now, Colin Cowherd has really been in his corner for quite some time, so to hear him just kind of declare Mike as the GOAT and LeBron is running the race he'll never win is very telling. But I think what rubbed people the wrong way about how LeBron ascended himself into the upper room of NBA history is the whole campaign he had to put behind it. The thing about Mike, and it hasn't been the thing that Michael Jordan has done himself, but LeBron has publicly just advocated himself to being the greatest of all time. Remember back in 2016 when they won the championship against the Warriors, and he just sat there on his shoulder sharp, and he just realized, at that moment, I just realized I was the greatest of all time. When do you ever hear any of the all-time greats just gloat about themselves like the way LeBron does? And I think that's the whole thing about it. On top of it, you have the whole Clutch Sports, Rich Paul thing that's going on where everybody just tries to push the propaganda into everybody's faces. Everywhere the agenda is being pushed. On the major networks, on the YouTube channels, on the podcast, everybody was just buying into this whole notion that LeBron has to be promoted as the GOAT and promoted as the GOAT by all means. The thing about it is, if you look at his accolades, his accomplishments, and everything he's done, he's validated himself to be number 1 or number 2 all the time. But that whole push and just everything he did just to try to self-promote himself to that level, I think that's what really turned a lot of people off. And I think that's where LeBron went missing in translation when it came to this whole thing. The major difference between him and Mike was that Mike respected the game so much that Mike didn't even have those conversations, or he didn't even entertain those conversations while he played. MJ said himself, when it came to the greatest of all time conversations, he said, that's something he just doesn't need to be a part of. Like there are great players in every generation, and we need to respect the players that built the league and the players that got us to this point. But deep down inside, I feel like Michael Jordan knows that amongst his peers, amongst the fans, amongst the media, they will regard him as the best player to ever put on basketball shoes and play in the NBA. He just went out there and played and did his thing. And I think everything happened so organically with Mike that you have to embrace it and you have to get behind it. Remember, everybody wanted to be like Mike. Everybody wanted the Air Jordan shoes. Everybody wanted to wear 23. The attachment and the associating with the brand made you just feel like he was an elite company. That's what Mike built, and Mike has that aura about him that even the players who played against him, they still talk about it to this day. So when you hear these stories and a great deal of respect that Mike has around the league, amongst his peers, amongst the media that watched him, it's second to none. I'm not saying that LeBron doesn't have that same level of respect, because the stories you hear about LeBron really doesn't hit like the stories you hear about MJ. I feel like LeBron, he's put himself in a place where he's just trying to insert himself as the greatest of all time and not let his accolades do the talking so much. So I feel like Colin Cowherd, he really got the picture now, and he really realized, like, hey, I got to let this thing go because this is a sinking ship. But who does LeBron have left on payroll right now? But the thing is, who else is going to push this agenda in the media? Because all the people who was behind LeBron dropping like flies, Colin Cowherd was like one of the biggest people in the media who really used to promote and push LeBron over MJ. And now that he's kind of, removed himself from the campaign, who's left? Jeff Teague? Nobody respecting his opinion like that no more when it comes from a all-time great standpoint, because they feel like he's critical of the people who came before him and paved the way in the league, i.e. Kobe. Nick Wright, Nick Wright, he's still going strong. He got some tap from LeBron when he went to a Grizzlies game this past season, so I guess he's still on the campaign trail. But look at guys like Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst was supporting LeBron since high school. Chris Broussard was another guy who was strong on the LeBron campaign, and he just kind of faded away too. And you remember Kendrick Perkins, LeBron's former teammate. He was high on that horse too. But, he had to get up off the stable when he realized that, this conversation is going nowhere. So I say all that to say this. Mike was a person who earned everybody's respect. And LeBron, he tried to buy everybody's respect more than earn it. So Colin Cowherd was right when he said that, Mike made you feel something that LeBron can't really make you feel. Pause. Mike had the flu game. He had the 63-point game. He had the final shot in Utah. He had the shrug in Portland. It's a lot of things that Michael Jordan did that, you just can't really forget. Even the duels that MJ had with Dominique Wilkins in the dunk contest. Something that LeBron didn't even want to participate in because he might have been scared he might have lose. But all of those things just make up the MJ law. And I think that's why, based on what he's done and what he has given to the game, as far as just his approach, his love for the game, his passion for it, and how everything organically happened, I think that's why he's held in a place of his own when it comes to these conversations of being the GOAT. And I feel like that's why a lot of people won't fold on it. And as for LeBron, you remember the longevity, you remember the all-time leading scorer, you remember everything that he's done, the championship that he brought to Cleveland. But you also remember that he formed super teams. You also remember the decision. You also remember a lot of things that he said during the Dallas series when he told people like, hey, y'all got to go back to your miserable lives. I'm good. You remember those things about LeBron. The reality of the situation is the people have spoken. Bleacher Report has spoken. A company who has done business with LeBron's media firm. The fans have spoken. The players have spoken. And now Colin Cowherd, one of LeBron's trusted people in the media. Even one of LeBron's trusted allies in Colin Cowherd waved the white flag and said this debate is over. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this whole GOAT conversation. Who's your GOAT, MJ or LeBron? Coach Smith, this is the Off Days Podcast. Like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm out.